Now imagine that the last thing captured on camera was a masked figure at her door, and that image is the only lead investigators have had for over a month. That is the reality Savannah Guthrie, one of America's most recognized television anchors, has been living with since February 1st, 2026. Her mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, vanished from her Tucson, Arizona home. And tonight, we're going to walk through every single piece of this case, from the DNA that led investigators nowhere fast, to the Ring CEO comments that just ignited a national debate, to the emotional scene when Savannah returned to that driveway for the first time. Stay with me, because this story is far from over, and what we found is going to surprise you. Before we get into the investigation, let's talk about the woman at the center of this case. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is a mother, a grandmother, and she is the woman who raised one of the most recognizable faces on American television, Savannah Guthrie, co-anchor of NBC's Today show, one of the most watched morning programs in the United States. Nancy lived in Tucson, Arizona, specifically in the Catalina foothills, a quiet upscale neighborhood known for its beautiful desert views and tight-knit community feel. By all accounts, this was a safe area, a calm neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing like this was supposed to happen. And then, on the morning of February 1st, 2026, it did. The details of that night are chilling. At some point on or around February 1st, 2026, Nancy Guthrie was reported missing from her Catalina foothills home. Authorities made their position clear very quickly. This was not a case of a confused elderly woman wandering off. This was an abduction. Officials stated publicly that they believed Nancy was taken against her will. The word they used, kidnapped. That declaration alone should tell you how seriously investigators were taking this from day one. But here's where things got complicated fast. There were no immediate suspects, no witnesses who saw anything concrete, just a quiet neighborhood, a missing woman, and a single piece of footage that would become the center of this entire investigation. On Nancy Guthrie's doorstep, a Google Nest security camera caught something that sent chills down the spine of every investigator who saw it. A masked man. According to the FBI, this individual was approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall, of medium build, and he appeared to be wearing a holstered firearm. He was also carrying a black Ozark Trail backpack. And what did he do when he got to that door? He broke the camera. Think about that for a moment. This person knew the camera was there. He went directly to it and destroyed it. That is not a random act. That is planning. That is someone who knew what they were doing. That single piece of footage, described by investigators as the best evidence they have, became the anchor of the entire case. But here is what made this even more frustrating for the FBI. That description? 5'10", medium build, masked? That matches thousands of people. And after weeks of investigation, that suspect remained unidentified. Now let us talk about a development that many people saw as a potential breakthrough, and then watched that hope disappear almost immediately. Approximately 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, investigators found a pair of black gloves. Now that might not sound like much, but in a case with almost no physical evidence, a pair of gloves found near the scene, that is potentially huge. Could there be DNA on those gloves? Could they belong to the suspect? Investigators sent them for testing, and the results came back. The DNA on those black gloves? It traced back to a local restaurant worker. That is not a suspect. That is not connected to the case. Those gloves, in all likelihood, had absolutely nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. One more promising lead. One more dead end. And that is the pattern that has defined this investigation. Over 34 days, investigators have followed lead after lead, and each time they have come up empty. An FBI-led team even went back to re-interview residents in the Catalina foothills neighborhood, and at least one item was removed in an evidence bag. But there have been no arrests, no named suspects, no real answers. At least one unverified claim surfaced online, a mysterious individual claiming to have seen Nancy 5 days after her disappearance. Investigators have not confirmed whether that tip led anywhere. Now, here is where the story takes a turn that nobody expected. While investigators were still searching for answers, the CEO of Ring, the home security camera company owned by Amazon, decided to speak publicly about this case. His name is Jamie Siminoff, and in an interview with Fortune magazine, he made a comment that stopped people in their tracks. Siminoff said that if Nancy Guthrie's home, or the homes around her, had more cameras, investigators might have already solved the case. He said, and I quote, that the Nancy Guthrie case had shown just how important video and more video would be, and that it is an example of how important it is to have video at your house. Now, think carefully about who is saying this. The CEO of a home security camera company, a company that makes money when people buy more cameras, talking publicly about a high-profile missing persons case, and using it to make the argument that people should have more cameras on their homes. People noticed, and the reaction was not kind. Within hours, social media was flooded with reactions, and most of them were not supportive of Siminoff's comments. One user wrote, "If only we had universal mass surveillance," dripping with sarcasm. Another said, "The CEO of a monitoring company is hoping more people buy a monitoring product. Why are we surprised by this?" A third commenter pointed out that Siminoff was essentially advocating for what they described as a privately owned panopticon, referencing the famous concept of a surveillance structure where everyone is always being watched. And here is the thing, the criticism is not without merit. There is a very real, very important conversation to be had about home surveillance technology, privacy, and public safety. At what point does increased camera coverage cross the line from protection to intrusion? Who controls that footage? Who has access to it? These are not small questions. And using a family's tragedy to make a marketing-adjacent argument, even if unintentionally, is a line that many people felt Jamie Siminoff crossed. Whether you agree or disagree, the fact that we are having this conversation at all speaks to how deeply this case has affected people across the country. Now let us set the controversy aside for a moment, because this story, at its core, is about a family. More than a month after her mother disappeared, Savannah Guthrie made her first public appearance at the family home outside Tucson. She was not alone. Her sister Annie and Annie's husband Tommaso Cioni walked with her, arm in arm, down that driveway. Video footage captured by News Nation and Fox News Digital showed the three of them placing yellow flowers at the edge of the property, at a makeshift memorial that had grown in the weeks since Nancy vanished. That memorial tells you everything you need to know about how this community has responded to this case. Flowers, yellow ribbons, crosses, a handwritten sign that simply reads, "Let Nancy come home," and a small statuette of an angel. Savannah Guthrie later posted a photo of those flowers on social media with a message to everyone who has been praying and hoping. She wrote, "We feel the love and prayers from our neighbors, from the Tucson community, and from around the country. Please don't stop praying and hoping with us." DNA evidence that pointed nowhere connected to the case. A recanvas of a neighborhood that may or may not have produced anything useful. There are still enormous questions unanswered. Who was the masked man on her doorstep? Why did he target Nancy Guthrie specifically? Was this random, or was it planned? What is inside that evidence bag the FBI just removed from the neighborhood? And most importantly, where is Nancy Guthrie right now? We do not know. And until the FBI speaks publicly again, the rest of us are left watching and waiting. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is someone's mother, someone's grandmother, and she is still out there, somewhere, waiting to come home. If you're watching from the Tucson area and you have any information about this case, any tip, no matter how small it seems, please contact the FBI tip line. Every piece matters. And if you are watching from anywhere else in the world, the best thing you can do right now is simple. Keep talking about this case. Keep sharing it. Keep praying. Because the moment the world stops paying attention is the moment cases like this go cold forever. We are the last trace, and we will not stop covering this story until Nancy comes home. If this video helped you understand the case better, please hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube that this story matters. If you are new here and you care about missing persons and investigative storytelling, subscribe so you never miss an update. And drop a comment below. What do you think happened to Nancy Guthrie? What question do investigators need to answer next? I read every single comment. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and we will see you in the next one.